music director at Second Presbyterian Church. I grew up in a small agricultural community in northern Idaho, attending the only Presbyterian church in town. In fact, when I was young, it was the only church in town. By 8th grade, I was playing Onward Christian Soldiers for the children to march to Sunday school class, singing in the adult choir, and was part of a quartet who now and then went to other churches to provide worship music. The church continued to be part of my life and my development as I worshiped in Idaho, in Oregon, where I went to college, in Indiana, where I worked after college, back to Oregon for graduate school, marriage, and employment. But worship became a significant shaping moment when John was hired to work in Stanford Industrial Park in California, and we attended the First Presbyterian Church of Palo Alto. What we saw there and where worship went beyond what we understood or had ever experienced. Communion for them was especially powerful, even emotional. Social issues were regularly part of the ministry, and some were even jailed for their belief. This experience put a perspective on whether music was really the most important thing I should be doing as a Christian. Our family then moved to Albuquerque, with me deciding that music made a very small contribution to worship for me, and although I continued to love worship, I believed that music was often prepared poorly or indifferently, and it had very little to do with the rest of the service. And so, despite all, I didn't care if others enjoyed and presented music, but I decided I would never again participate in the worship music of the church. Then John was pressed to join St. Andrew. We were both pressed to join St. Andrew Presbyterian Albuquerque, not because of the music, but because the minister, Harold Daniels, believed vital worship led to involvement in mission and justice issues, and that is what we had experienced in Palo Alto. He wanted that kind of worship for St. Andrew. Along the way, Reverend Daniels learned that I was a musician and talked about the kind of contribution that all of the arts can make to enrich worship. He believed planning always had to begin with the scriptures of the day, and that nothing was prepared indifferently. As you may have guessed, I became involved in the worship music at St. Andrew. Over the next 10 to 20 years, my love for well-planned, intentional worship grew significantly every week. And to this day, I love it all. I love the planning, I love the preparing, I love the presenting. When I was hired here in 1996, I began a significantly new, fresh ministry for me. What was requested was a much wider variety of music, especially adding world music, and I was encouraged to use more worship music in every service. And what we continue to do here, I believe, is still unique in Presbyterian churches and in many churches of all denominations. Another surprise was that the choir would be singing at most funerals. I've never known any church in any denomination who does this, and this has become a real experience of pastoral music ministry for me. Planning based on the lessons of the day and the season of the church year have continued to be a discipline for me. I've been grateful that clergy here have encouraged and supported that discipline. Second Presbyterian Session has always provided a generous budget to make music happen here, and I'm frequently moved by the extra monies that are gifted to music by several of you. The choir and other musicians here are faith-filled and have more gifts, including musical gifts, than they know. They are wonderful to serve with. I've had the opportunity to be part of music at Second Presbyterian and Christian education activities, in the pastoral ministry of caroling and funerals. I've been part of mission trips, fellowship activities, and part of justice and ecumenical events at the invitation of others. Music has been the vehicle that has allowed me to serve locally, to do workshops in music in several presbyteries and synods, to plan and provide music to a variety of national gatherings, and in addition, along the way, have been part of groups selected to prepare worship resources for the Presbyterian denomination. I have been very blessed. I joined Second Presbyterian Church, I know I joined. I think it was 98. John, who was serving in another church and knew we would probably never sit together again in worship, looked at several other congregations and then joined Second Presbyterian also. We've had 3 grandchildren baptized here. My mother's memorial service was here. 1 family wedding was here, and potentially 2 funerals, neither of which are in the planning stages at yet. I still do not believe music is the most important thing that happens here or in any church. but I do believe in your love for the music of the church, especially in worship, and that in this congregation, it is a real expression of faith. John and I pledge our time and talent each week and try to increase our pledge of treasure each year, because we know we are more blessed than any pledge indicates. We pledge because this congregation takes seriously their ministries. To whom much has been given, much is required. I believe that is truly true for my life, and I believe it is true for this congregation. There are so many gifts here that say that God has things for us to do, probably even in the music of the church.